Thank you so much, Leader. You can see why we are angry. This is not just something that has come out overnight that has shocked the whole nation. As Brother Fallon said, we live with this on a daily basis. I did an interview just the day after it came out, and I said, we went through this in the 1960s. For fuck's sake, it's going on 50 years later. How on earth can we allow this to go on for so long? Now, there's one other point. We had Laura from Juma talk. You know, I've seen children removed because a neighbour would ring up and make a complaint about an Aboriginal woman, so facts come in and remove the child because of some stupid idiotic phone call. Look how those kids were treated. If we treated our kids like that, we'd never see them again in our whole life. Never. So why are they in the care of institutions and treated like that? Why? That's a question that's got to be asked. Now here's a proud verified man, Grant Saunders. Thank you.
First of all, I want to pay respects to the traditional owners, the Gadigal people, and say my respects from my country, Biripi country in Taree. And I wrote stuff down so that I wouldn't get too emotional because this is just very hard to bear. Look, I want to just remind everyone about why a Royal Commission is not the answer. It's one of the answers. So much more has to happen, and I'll remind you why and cast your minds back to the Royal Commission into Deaths in Custody, 1987 to 1991. These are facts from the Australian Institute of Criminology. Go and check it up. 339 recommendations made out of that Royal Commission. $40 million spent on it. $400 million implementing a minuscule amount of those recommendations. Aboriginal deaths in custody since the Royal Commission have risen by 150%. Main recommendation was, interestingly enough, 339, the last recommendation, which was to initiate a formal process of reconciliation between Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal people and the setting up of the Council of Reconciliation. You know where the $400 million went, eh? 1991, Aboriginal deaths in custody were 8 times more imprisonment rates than non-Aboriginal people. A decade later, we were 10 times more likely to be in prison. This is a decade after the Royal Commission recommendations were handed down. In 2010s, we are 15 times more likely. In Western Australia, we are 20 times more likely to be incarcerated. That's in the 2010s, people, this era. 2009, proportion of Aboriginal prisoners almost doubled in 20 years since the Royal Commission. Despite the Royal Commission in 2014, the Northern Territory introduced paperless arrest laws to free police of paperwork. Laws that cover offences of swearing, drinking in public, making too much noise, for having a fucking messy front yard. These are paperless arrest laws. 80% of those arrests were Aboriginal people, and they didn't get on-the-spot fines, which was the history of those types of arrests. No, they got detained. 340 Aboriginal deaths in custody since the end of the Royal Commission into 99. Most could have been prevented if all the 339 recommendations from that Royal Commission were actually implemented. Families, think about the families of those people who died. Think about the families of those young kids being tortured. They are by not only just losing their loved ones, but the fact that the criminal justice system still denies them justice. There are examples that we know of because we had our people rioting. TJ Hickey in 2004, he was killed by the Redfern police. They pursued him, they hunted him down, and they rammed that bike. That bike was never brought into coronial inquest. That coronial inquest was a fucking joke. It was a kangaroo court. It was never going to find any justice. Marunji Tumachi in the same year, 2004. He was killed. And what happened to both the officers who were brought into question? They were promoted to detective and sent to a really nice, cushy precinct. Gold Coast for Sergeant Early. Manly for fucking Hollingsworth. That's the justice we get. Police get pat on the back if they kill an Aboriginal person. That's a fact. John Pat, 16 years old. 1983 Groban, northwestern Australia. Punched and kicked in the face by off-duty police officers. He died as a result of those injuries an hour later. The Aboriginal people that were with him that night sustained injuries that left them in hospital for a week. Those 5 officers who were responsible, guess what happened to them? Have a guess. No charges. They were let off by a completely white jury. And guess what happens 30 years later? The Parliament of Western Australia says sorry to the family. Took them 30 years just to say a fucking word that doesn't mean shit anyway. It's been recently reported by the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights that there have been multiple human rights violations breached, at least 2. The Convention for the Rights of the Child and Convention Against Torture have been breached. That is plain and simple. It's straightforward. This government, the NT government, actually sanctioned this type of torture. They not only knew about it, they actually went about legalising it. Read, people, if you're new here, because I know that I'm preaching to the converted here. There's a massive amount of friends and family here that have been rallying for these causes for I don't know how long. It's enough is enough, people. Enough is enough. We want justice. I started a petition to actually demand a few more things in a Royal Commission. I've got just over 300 supporters. Well, guess what? There's 30,000 something supporters going for what Turnbull wants is a Royal Commission, which is just a strategy to push it out of the way, the real issues, because a Royal Commission, as we know from the Royal Commission into Aboriginal deaths in custody, was a smokescreen. None of the recommendations were ever followed through with that actually meant anything. I am an Aboriginal person, I'm sorry, but I am. But I have had enough time in the mic, and I will let someone else speak. I want you to please look up our petition called Aboriginal Lives Matter, and we're demanding so much more than a futile Royal Commission. Thanks for listening.